Good evening. Thanks everybody for being here. My name is Michelle Parker, and I am the Vice President of Leadership for the Second District PTA. And that's the organization that supports all of the PTAs in San Francisco Unified School District. We do these 411 meetings usually at least a couple of times a month to provide ways for parents and all of our stakeholders across the district to connect with each other, learn from each other, and just to be able to be part of a bigger network and support the families at their schools. So we're really glad tonight to be hosting a conversation with our SFUSD partners about the student assignment system, and you have a chance to provide your input tonight. So thank you for making the time to do that. And I'm going to turn the time now over to Marisha Robinson, who is leading this engagement effort with the district on this, so that she can tell us about what we'll be doing tonight.
Hi, everyone. Welcome, welcome, welcome. As we get settled, and there was an announcement made earlier, you guys all have the ability to rename yourselves. So if you can do that, or if you would like to do that, that option is there for you. You click on the three dots. You hover over your picture and you click on the three dots on the right-hand side, and it'll allow you to rename yourself. So my name is Marisha Robinson, and I work for San Francisco Unified School District as a community engagement manager for the Educational Placement Center. And I'll be here tonight facilitating our conversation around zone development and the new elementary student policy. I'm going to take a moment here and share my screen and get my slide decks up. My slide deck up. All right, next slide. So just a couple of reminders and some tech tips for navigating Zoom. We will be using our chat and our mute buttons today. And so if you're on a desktop or a laptop computer, your chat and raise your hand functions will be located in the bottom toolbar of your Zoom window. If you're on a mobile device, like your iPad or your telephone, you'll have to tap the screen and then your options should pop up. They usually pop up in the right-hand corner, or sometimes they pop up from the bottom. So be sure to be mindful to keep yourself on mute if you're not talking. And if you have any questions or concerns, you can always drop them in the chat, and we have people out here monitoring the chat tonight as well. So a quick overview of what we'll be doing tonight and how we'll be spending our time together. The bulk of this workshop tonight will be spent with us listening to the community feedback in small group sessions. We're super excited to hear everyone's input, and that's why we'll be spending most of this time in those small group sessions. After we come back from our breakouts, we'll wrap up and then we'll end for the evening. Today's conversation is an opportunity for everyone in this room to learn more about the work that SFUSD is doing to develop zones for the new student assignment policy, and to also provide feedback that will help make sure the zones meet the needs of San Francisco children and their families. So the Board of Education adopted a new zone-based elementary school assignment process to replace our current district-wide choice policy. Any changes that are going to happen in this new zone-based elementary school assignment process won't impact current SFUSD students. The earliest that this policy would go into effect for students is for students entering elementary school in the fall of 2024. Tonight, these conversations are part of our implementation phase, and we're in the beginning of that. During this phase, there'll be many opportunities for input from the community. This is just one of the several workshops that we're hosting around the city to hear from the community. And the input that we gather tonight will be important to help shape what the zones will look like. We'll go over some goals for tonight's meeting. So our goals are to share and have community members learn about the changes to the elementary school student assignment system, to share our project timeline, and then also learn about approaches to developing the elementary school zone boundaries. SFUSD staff will learn about families' hopes, ideas, and concerns related to different approaches for developing zone boundaries. And we're going to take some time to see who's all in this space and whisk you all away to breakout rooms in just a second. And when you're in the breakout room, each person should take some time to share their name, how they're connected to the district. And the prompt for the question is, if you only knew one thing about me, I want you to know this. So give us just a moment as we get those breakout rooms set up, and we'll send you guys all off.
Everyone good? Everyone know where to go? Any parents left?
I have one connecting to audio. And Mary.
You've got one more Susan left.
Join rooms or just wait here? Great start, Marisha.
Thank you, Joseph.
Are you comfortable presenting the slides? Or would you like me to?
Can you?
Yeah.
Okay, did I stop already? Yeah, I did.
Yeah.
Oh, you're the best friend. I am, but if you can do it, I appreciate that.
Yeah, let's do that.
We got 3 minutes left.
Glad you set a timer.
The unofficial timer in my head.
Are you seeing the slide deck or the presenter view?
I see your notes. Get rid of the notes, the presenter notes. Yeah, there's the deck.
Perfect. Thanks.
I can close that. Close that. I don't have to monitor any of that.
Okay, I'll give everyone a 1 minute warning,
Okay.
or maybe that's not necessary. Just wait a minute and then I'll close it. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and Okay, they should start coming back.
Mhm. Welcome back, everyone. Let's see, do we have everybody back?
Not quite. We can wait another 30 seconds.
Okay. Alrighty. Okay, welcome back, everyone. I hope you met someone new and learned something new about someone you already know. We're gonna move on now into talking about the new student assignment policy. Just a general overview of it. Next slide, please.
Sorry, are you not seeing the?
The next slide, no, I don't see it yet, but it might come. Oh no, technology, woo woo, there it is. All right. So board resolution 5101.2. So after a 2-year policy development process on December 8th, 2020, the board approved a new policy for elementary student assignment. Here were some of the problems that were listed about our current system. Schools were segregated by income and race and ethnicity. The enrollment process itself was complicated for families. It isn't predictable or transparent enough. And not everyone has equitable access in the choice process due to systematic barriers. Also, families are traveling all the way across the city is a barrier to creating community connections. So now that the resolution is passed, there are some policy goals in there. And some of our core values that help shape the new policy were a commitment to ensuring every student has access to quality schools, that students are best served in diverse learning environments, and that student assignment should be easy for families and should be the start of a positive relationship between San Francisco Unified School District and families. These values informed our goals for the student assignment, for the new student assignment policy. The new zone-based student assignment system will strive to achieve all of these goals. The goals are listed there to the right, and they are diversity, so creating integrated elementary schools that provide students with opportunities to experience the rich diversity of our city, predictability, offering families of elementary students a high degree of predictability about where their elementary children will be enrolled in school, and then proximity. Create strong community connections to local schools and reduce the number of families with elementary students traveling across the city. We also want to acknowledge the feedback that we've received over the years from parents and others just like you. We know that school quality is incredibly important, and we also recognize that student assignment alone cannot create high quality schools, and that a lot of things would have to shift alongside the student assignment policy. Student assignment is not going to solve every problem, but it does have a role to play. It has a role to play in creating racially and socioeconomically integrated schools. And we can also design a system that's simpler and easier to use and more predictable for families. and a system that encourages stronger connections between schools and local communities. Now that we've heard a little bit about the policy, we'll look at where we're at in the timeline. So in this timeline, we are in the implement phase. There'll be multiple opportunities for the community to give feedback along the way and at each stage of us developing the new policy, the new student assignment system. There'll be multiple community workshops, there'll be ad hoc committees on student assignment, town halls, and we have surveys as well. Now we'll go into a policy summary. How will this new student assignment policy work? Well, there's 3 elements to the new policy. There's zones, diversity categories, and tiebreakers. Zones determine how schools are grouped together within a boundary. Diversity categories and tiebreakers influence how students are assigned to schools in their zone. But today, we'll focus on zones. And in future discussions, we'll provide more details and ask for input from the community on diversity categories and tiebreakers. But nothing can happen until we get schools and students organized into zones. So let's learn a little bit about zones. Zones are boundaries drawn around elementary schools. Zones determine which programs students are eligible to apply for based on their students' residence. Boundaries will be drawn intentionally to promote diversity, and they'll also take into consideration geography, traffic patterns, and our community feedback. Zones also support proximity and they increase predictability. In these zones, every student will have access to general education options. Every student will have access to a K-8 school. Every student will have access to language pathways, and every student will have access to special education programs. The timeline for zone development is presented right here in front of you, and it's part of the implement phase. So right now we're in the fall of 2021, where we're gathering input from you to help us make decisions to draft the proposed zones. We'll bring these zones back to the community for more specific feedback in the spring. All right, so we're gonna move on in just a moment, and I know that was a lot of information, so let's all take the next 15 to 20 seconds to kind of pause and think about any questions we may have. If you have questions, feel free to submit them in the chat, and we won't have time to answer every question tonight, but we'll make sure that answers are available in follow-up materials. I'll just leave a little bit more space for us to add additional questions in the chat if we need to. We are going to now transition into talking about how our small groups will work. So tonight we're going to have a chance to work together on different approaches to building the zones. We know you'll have a lot of questions about how specific things will work in the new zones, and your questions and insights will be super helpful. For today though, we want to leave a lot of those questions behind and keep it simple. We ask you to really focus with us on some possible approaches that will help us make progress on building zones. We don't expect to have all the details figured out by the end of this workshop, but we do hope to hear everyone's thoughts so that staff can include your opinions when making decisions. Think of this as like a working session. We want you to know, we want to know what you like about the different approaches that we'll introduce and what questions you may have. In our small groups, norms, where'd it go? There you go. In our small groups, here's some norms that we'd like to stick by today. Everyone listens and everyone takes a turn. Speak from your heart, your truth, your perspectives, and your experiences. Listen from the heart and let go of stories that make it hard to hear each other. Trust that you will know what to say. There's no need to rehearse. And say just enough without feeling rushed. Be concise and considerate of time of others. So once we in our breakout spaces, we'll spend 8:39. We'll spend about 30 minutes discussing diversity in zones, and then 20 minutes discussing zone sizes and options. Feel free to take notes of you if you want on your own, but also be ready to submit a Google form at the end of your breakout groups. All righty. We're going to transition into our breakout rooms in just a moment. You'll have, you'll see a join button just like you did for our icebreaker to join your breakout room. Your breakout room will have a facilitator that will help guide and lead you through the conversation and through all of the prompts. They will also be taking notes and or recording parts of the session so that we can use it to guide us along as we design the zones. All right, we'll get those rooms set up and get you guys whisked away again. Thank you for all of the questions in the comments. I see it lighting up.